Hi, welcome to another episode of the DRH Show, where I have wide-ranging conversations with interesting people. We talk about all things psychology, mental health, and wellness. Today, I'm joined by a personal trainer and founder of Jemmas Health Hub, and of course, it's Jemma Thomas.
Hi.
Thanks for joining me here today, Jemma. I'm really glad to have you here because I've been talking to a wide range of people, and actually, I think you're one of the first personal trainers that I get to interact with. So if you could just share to me a bit of your life story, your trajectory in life, and how you ended up doing what you're doing.
Sure thing. I would love to. First, thank you for having me, and yeah, excited to have a chat about exercise and all things mental health. So I'll tell you a bit about my background. I actually started my career in marketing and advertising, so absolutely outside the field of exercise and wellness, and that took me up until I was around 29. And then I went, so I then, didn't go. I fell pregnant with my first son, who's now 9. And then after I had him, I started to exercise and work out a little bit more. And then there were a few things that affected me after the birth, mentally as well, which I didn't expect. So then I started to use health, fitness, movement to help me in many ways. And it interested me so much how the connection between how I felt and how I moved my body, it was so strong that I wanted to learn more about it. So I decided I was going to retrain. So I was going to take myself away from marketing and advertising, and I wanted to work in the fitness industry. So I retrained with the YMCA, which is a company that offer great training courses. So I trained up to personal trainer level 3, and now I work with ladies, predominantly ladies online. And so, yeah, that's taken me into a completely different path and a completely different career, which I absolutely love now. So, yeah, the kind of short story is that I used exercise myself to feel mentally better, and it worked. And then I decided to retrain, and so I could help others feel the same benefits rather than using exercise to lose weight or change the way that I looked. I wanted to use exercise to change the way that I felt. And yeah, it was always it always worked. I always vividly remember after I had my little boy, I started to feel very low, and that was 9 years ago. And I think you didn't talk too much then about. Well, we did talk a little bit, but it wasn't as much as now, which about mental health after you have your children. And I had a distinct memory of going for a quick jog around the block because one day I felt so kind of, quite low and quite foggy. And after the jog around the block, it kind of just lifted. And I was like, oh, it's something to do with moving is helping me. And I just kept making that connection. Movement is helping me. And that's why I just found it such a fascinating connection, which is, why I do it now.
I definitely agree with you when you say that, exercise really gives us a lot of benefits. As you could probably tell, a lot of people who engage in physical movements, whether indoors or outdoors, they really exude this kind of vibrancy and positivity. But one thing I want to ask you, Jemma, is that obviously because of the pandemic, because of the lockdown, it has transformed a bit how we do exercise. So how did it impact what you do for Jemmas Hub?
Jemmas Health Hub it's always been an online service, so it actually didn't change. I'm coming up to the 3rd year as it being an online workout community. So when we all sort of changed our lifestyles a year ago now, everything stayed quite similar for my business in that term. And so I was able to actually market to people then again that were working from home, come and join me online. This is where I work out from. This is my Jemma's Health Hub room. I've got my exercise mat and everything. So it was helpful to me that now we were beginning to see the benefits of using online platforms to do different things like exercise. You know, it was because I'd already had, nearly 2 years of building my platform and my community. It was nice to welcome some people in that hadn't tried online workouts, which was great.
So did you have a bit of sort of a premonition or a vision that, you know, over the years, a lot of this will be transformed online? And I was also wondering what kind of people actually do like online exercise as opposed to people who go for, you know, will go out for a run or will go to a gym.
Yeah.
I would understand how people would be encouraged to do this online in light of the current situation. But before the pandemic, I'm just interested what kind of people would actually do that.
Yeah, so it was kind of, I think at the beginning, I was looking for something that I would have liked, if you know what I mean. So when I had my little ones, I didn't get a chance to go to the gym. I didn't get a chance to go on runs as often as possible. And so I thought creating an online community, which is predominantly mums, you don't have to be a mum to join, but it so happens that most of the members of the hub are mums of sort of smaller, maybe school-age children or littler ones. So they don't have that time to get in the car, drive to the gym, get changed, have a class, come back, which can end up being like 2 hours if you factor in all of that. So what I offer is like 30 minutes, join me live, you're done in 30 minutes, the kids can be there with you. Sometimes they like to join in. And yeah, it's more out of convenience, which I think we are realizing now after being in a pandemic for a year. It's like, right, we need to do stuff online. It's convenient to be online. So it has kind of, it's just organically turned into a group of predominantly women, predominantly mothers who are short on time. It's mainly something that I wanted for myself, which they say a lot of good ideas come from what you see it, where you see a problem. So I saw a problem of not having, you know, an exercise program that was short, sharp, early in the morning, get it done. So that's what the hub is.
Brilliant. Now, of course, we are already aware of, you know, resources that says about the range of mental health benefits of doing exercise. But of course, this is your line of work as a personal trainer. So if you could just kind of refresh a memory of what are the mental health benefits of doing exercise, whether you're doing it online or in person.
So from personal experience, I would say... So using movement, and I kind of tend to say the word movement a lot more than exercise because I think it's more inclusive and a bit less scary if you're not an exercise person. So I think movement is one of the most important tools that you can do to change how you feel mentally. And it is just, so I did a little bit of research into the reasons why, and you know, physiologically it builds stronger connections in your brain. It helps release hormones that lift you, you know, it helps mobility, it helps so many things. Just moving your body can have that knock-on effect inside, and it always we always kind of don't think it's gonna, you know, it's half an hour, can I be bothered, have I got time? But what you get from that half an hour, what you're gaining is so much more. So the mental health benefits, sorry, to go back to your question, it's there have been a couple of studies actually. It's a guy called Brendan Stubbs. He's done a lot of studies as it goes about using exercise as an intervention with any kind of mental illnesses. Then obviously mental illnesses range, and there are scales, and there are so many different variants. But what they did was did some studies with different groups of people that were maybe suffering from depression, maybe from anxiety, or even all the way to things such as addiction. And they used movement and exercise as a, I say substitute, I hope that's the right word, as a substitute for maybe more of a chemical intervention, such as antidepressants. So potentially one group would have exercise as their medication, and one group would have a chemical medication. And in a lot of the studies, I'm simplifying this, by the way. This is
absolutely.
This is yeah. So this is what happened. And a lot of the studies, exercise and movement was on par with the chemical medication. So I'll say, as again, I caveat that it came out very, very, very highly favorably against the chemical medication. So what I suppose I'm trying to say is that I think we need to look to exercise as not a substitute maybe for antidepressants, but, you know, to use it, not to discount it, to use it as well as, or, you know, yeah, definitely. And it's, you know, maybe doctors are now prescribing lifestyle changes rather than just straight medication. Over the last few years, it's been, I remember I went to the doctors after I had my son, and they straight away prescribed me antidepressants. I had, I think, probably a 5 or 6 minute conversation telling him how I felt, and he just said, okay, here's your prescription for antidepressants. And I was hesitant, and I said, oh, in my head, I was sort of like, do I want to take these? Is this what I want? Do I want to look at other avenues? And that, again, is why I've come back to exercise, why I retrained, why I do what I do, because it was a simple, take these pills, you'll be fixed. But actually, there was another way for me. But I'm also understanding that some people do take antidepressants, and that's a necessity. So I'm not saying they're not needed. They are in some cases, but some cases I think it can be lifestyle changes that will help.
Absolutely. And I just, another thing that I want to hear from you, Jemma, is obviously because of the lockdown, there's a bit of, shall we say, reluctant to engage in physical activities, because obviously right now we're just spending a lot of times in front of our screens, you know, Netflix and pizza and all of that. So what do you think, what would you be your top tips for those who want to exercise more, but they don't seem to have the, shall we say, motivation to do that?
Yeah, so it is hard. You're stuck indoors. You know, if it's a miserable day, like if it's a lovely day where I am here, so it's easy to go out. But actually, if it's not a very nice day, perhaps you don't have the motivation to be getting up early and getting into a routine. It can be so easy to think, oh, I've gone a whole week without really hardly doing anything. So the advice would be to start teeny tiny. Do not think, oh, I haven't done anything for a week. Right, I'm going to go on a 5-kilometer run. That's going to be off-putting. So making it a tiny little bite-size way in. So I do also something online called Got5 Live, which is 5 minutes, just 5 minutes of moving. Get up, do 5 minutes of moving, and then that triggers, it wakes your body up, it triggers you into activity. It takes you out of that kind of sort of stagnant feeling you'll get when you wake up. So 5 minutes of movement, get the heart rate up, get the blood pumping around, and then that might lead to more. 5 minutes might lead to 10 minutes. Then before you know it, you could be doing half an hour, and that is, you know, it's gradual. You don't have to be straight in. So if exercise is something that's been maybe bothering you and thinking, oh, I can't do it, or I'm not an exercise person, or I'm too unfit, don't worry. Just even do 2 minutes, 3 minutes, just build up gradually. Take some time out of, there's a guy that does, I can't remember his name, a guy that does something to help his productivity. So it's called the Pomodoro technique. So every hour you take 5 minutes and do something like movement, or you just take 5 minutes out of every hour and just do something to shake up your routine. So you could try that. You could try 5 minutes out of every hour, something small.
I think the main key takeaway from the tips that you gave us is just as much as possible try to engage in movement, no matter how big or small. And as what you've said, it's really easy to start small rather than, you know, trying to have like big exercise goals.
Definitely.
Another thing that I want to ask you, Jemma, is that obviously Jemma's Hub is not just like an online platform for those who wants to get in shape, but I got the impression that you're also trying to build a community. Is that right?
That is right, yes. I absolutely condone having an inclusivity and community-led exercise group, because what it's done and what I've seen in the group that I've created is that it's people, the ladies that are in it feel safe to share when they're feeling maybe not so motivated. Someone else will lift them up. Maybe when someone else is feeling up here, they pick up the other person. When you're not by yourself, you are more consistent, you're more accountable. So if you know, even if you're not in person, if you know that your friend Sally, let's call her, is getting up, she's going to do her hub workout and she's going to post her picture that she's done it, and then you think, oh, Sally's done it, you know what, I'm going to do mine too. It's not like you're just by yourself looking on an app like, okay, I've done my workout. It's about seeing other people doing what you're doing and making it it's not about being perfect in a gym in front of a mirror. Do you know what I mean? So looking amazing. It's like, oh, we all look, you know, red and sweaty. It's not about looking perfect when you've exercised. It's about real life.
It actually reminds me what you said, like when we have like a sort of a community that we belong to, it makes us more motivated. Actually, I'll just inject a bit of psychology. It's what we call the Hawthorne effect. So basically, when people are around us and they tend to see what we're doing, we became encouraged to do more. So I think that's the psychological element behind, you know, being involved as part of a community when you're doing something like exercising. Of course, Jemma, you're also a mother. I think you mentioned you've got 3 kids. Is that right?
I've got 2.
Oh, you've got 2. Sorry. So you have 2 kids.
2 kids and a dog.
2 kids and a dog. So what about children? How do we inspire them to get into exercise? Because obviously not every kid would want that. They don't still see the benefit of exercise. So what's the best tip for that?
So I think that seeing it around them and having role models is important, even if that role model doesn't have to be the parent. It could be, you know, seeing it, having, for instance, say Joe Wicks, having him on in the background, or just having him, right, we're going to do an online workout, or having something that is child friendly. You can get so many child-friendly workouts online. Just having it as an exciting thing rather than a boring thing like, oh, we have to do our exercise now. Or finding an activity that they engage with. My eldest is into football. So we'll go over the park, we'll kick the ball around for an hour. It'll be his run around time. I know that if he doesn't get enough movement and running around, it affects him, because you know, it is easy for them to be on the screen a lot, and it's easy for us to give it to them because we need a bit of peace sometimes. So we're like, okay, fine, have the iPad. But just taking them away for potentially even just a walk around the block, something that incorporates movement that isn't, you know, a scary, rigid routine. If they're not, you know, if they're not a child that's into a sport, maybe don't pressurize that. Then they'll feel like as they grow up, they'll be like, oh, you know, I hated tennis because my mum made me play tennis. You know, just notice what their interests are, notice what they seem to like, and be led by them.
So is Jemmas Hub just predominantly for adults, or is it a combination of all ages?
Well, it is. The classes are for adults. I don't do children's classes, but I know that there are kids with their mums when they're doing the workout sometimes. But yeah, it's an adult-based class, and in the future, who's to say that I might not maybe do some children's ones? But
yeah,
I'd love to, but I haven't fitted it in yet.
Well, as you've said earlier, you know, necessity is the mother of invention. So who knows, maybe we'll branch out later on. Now, for those who wants to learn more or say sign up to your online classes, can you just tell us your website?
Yeah, so it's just Jemma, which is with a J, Jemmas Health Hub. And yeah, there's information on there about joining the hub, and I have mainly a sort of chat online on Instagram quite a lot to people if they want to find more about me. It's Jemma's Health Hub on Instagram as well. So yeah, most of my kind of online presence is there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'll do, Jemma, is I'll pop that in the description notes, so everyone who wants to find out about your online classes, they can get in touch with you. Now, Jemma, we've learned the work side of Jemma. What I usually do in this interview is I try to separate this into two parts. So we're now moving on to the more human side of Jemma. So.
Okay.
Can you just tell us what inspires you? So what made you grow your business, and also as an individual, what keeps you becoming positive or staying positive?
So with business and why I started, I think it was, like you just said, something that was necessary for me to do. So completely changing career, not knowing if it would work or not having any foundation in the fitness industry or the wellness industry, not really knowing. I was quite naive when I started up. I was like, yeah, I'm just going to start a business and do this. But what drove me was the passion for it. And I learned everything else along the way. I didn't know how to build an Instagram. I didn't know how to build a website. I didn't know how to do the back end finance stuff. I didn't know how to do a tax return, anything. But over the last 4 or 5 years now, I learned. And that is, I think, one of the best things about setting something up of your own that you love. You learn so much that you wouldn't do before. Like, so much so.
I could absolutely relate with that, because of course I'm running PsychReg, which is also a company. Although my background is in psychology, I could relate to you when you said about tax returns. All of us are clueless about that. Eventually we all learn, and of course you have a background in marketing. I don't have a background in marketing, so I just trying to learn the ropes of the trade along the way. Now, Jemma, another thing that I want to ask you is, has your attitude towards exercise changed at different stages of your life? Say when you were still single, and now as a mom, and now as a digital entrepreneur, has it changed? Or
yeah, I think so. I think when I was younger, I would only exercise to burn off calories. I would literally watch on the treadmill how many calories, how much did I eat, and it was just not fun. And I would exercise sporadically, so maybe I'd do 6 weeks really hard because it was summer, and then I'd just stop. And then maybe I would do, it wasn't about the enjoyment, and it wasn't about consistency when I was younger. And then I think I got into like 20s and, late 20s. I was so busy with work. I didn't have children. I was in and around London in Soho, and I was like, there just wasn't time. It wasn't I say it wasn't time. There wasn't the priority. I could have found time, but I didn't. So I then, again, when I changed career into fitness, it was out of priority. I needed the exercise. I wanted it consistently. And now I don't look at any calories burnt. If it comes up on my fitness tracker, I don't pay any attention to it. I don't really track things in any way. I just move for myself and my mental health. That's all.
No, because you've been, you've been in the fitness industry for quite some time. I'm quite sure that you've come across with a number of misconceptions about health and fitness. So if you could kind of, identify those misconceptions and sort of address them.
So I think one of the main things which is changing, which is brilliant, is about just the look, like changing the way that you look, because I think it's almost like change the way you look, you'll be happier. Lose this few, however many pounds, you'll be happier. And I think there's an important line. Sometimes people do wish to lose some weight, and that's absolutely fine if that's what they want, and if they're, it's okay to want to lose weight, but also it's okay not to base your fitness goals on how you look. And I think that's changing. A perception change is happening now, because it's about the enjoyment of it, rather than this week I lost 2 pounds. Oh no, next week I need to lose this amount. Just it's the fixation of the results that can take away the enjoyment. So I think, and also it's like in the fitness industry, it used to be, you have to look a certain way to be a personal trainer, or you have to be full of muscles or strong looking or whatnot. But now, where I am on Instagram, there are so many different types of personal trainer, which is amazing. So you can find one that is for you. So if you're sort of a bit frightened to go and find a trainer, there'll be one for you that isn't frightening. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, that's one of the misconceptions about fitness, that you have to look a certain way in order for you to sort of convey to everyone that, hey, I'm healthy and I'm fit. But as as a personal trainer, you've just said that it doesn't necessarily mean that way. Now, as a personal trainer, Jemma, can you share to us some exciting trends in health and exercise? Are there any special supplement going on? Or are there any special techniques?
Good question. I think, I don't know if I've got the insider knowledge, but I think with training, HIIT training was very, very popular as the last few years. It's like HIIT, train like that. But I think where we're learning, including HIIT, including strength training, and then including something low intensity in your whole workout. Don't think it has to be one set workout. Right, I'm going to do this all week, and that's going to be my program. It's about a bit of variety. So with stuff in the fitness industry, there's loads of emerging young companies that are creating some great products. If you mentioned supplements, there's some great protein brands out there, including some great sort of vegan proteins and things for everybody, I think is what I'm trying to say. There's something if you're, looking for a healthier lifestyle, you can now find really quite easily great supplements and great kind of protein things to add into your diet. Because I think protein's one of a misconception as well, especially with women. They think if they have too much protein, they're going to become bulkier, which is not the case. You'd have to eat so much protein in order for that to happen, and be weight training a lot. So protein is really important because it repairs everything. I'm going to say this wrong now. The amino acids, it repairs your muscles. Mm-hmm. So protein should not be seen as just for bodybuilders, basically.
Yeah, but it's I suppose what you're trying to say is it's an essential component of fitness and nutrition. Yes. Now, you just gave us some exciting trends within fitness and mental health. What about Jemmas Hubs? What's the next step for Jemmas Health Hub?
So the next step is to continue to grow the community, which has kind of grown over the years, and just to build up the ladies that are inside the hub already. And I'm looking to maybe create some more products that are branded, just kind of branch out more into. So I kind of have some things that I sell on my website with T-shirts and journals and things, but trying to consolidate and make more products that are going to be helpful to people.
That's brilliant. And what's the most important thing that you want to know, what you want the public to know about your work? Because obviously you're a mother, you're a nutrition expert and a personal trainer. So what's the big message?
The big message, I would say, is not to if you've not exercised for a long time, and if it's something that you want to get into, do not be frightened. Just begin and start to notice how it makes you feel. There's one thing I always say at the start of my hub sessions with the ladies. So we do them at 6:30 in the morning. And I always say, how do you feel now? Before we've started, how do you feel? Like what percentage? And lots of them will say, oh, you know, I feel like 10% today. I feel 20%. I don't feel high up. And then at the end, when we've done our 30-minute workout, I say, how do you feel now? What percentage are you at? And they will always say 70, 80, 90%. So within that half an hour, everything has changed. So I like them to just remember putting in that half an hour, that little bit of time, which you maybe might be scrolling on your phone in another time, or, you know, just that little half an hour can change everything. So yeah, that's my takeaway.
Okay. That's a brilliant message. And Jemma, where do you draw inspiration from? Is that a piece of writing or an individual which has the greatest influence to how you approach your work?
I think inspiration for me comes from being, again, online, and I follow some really inspiring people on social media. Mainly I like to look to sort of female business owners within the wellness industry. You've got people that have set up some great things, like Deliciously Ella Mills, for instance, has set up an amazing brand, wellness brand, that lots of people are getting so many benefits from. And yeah, I tend to look towards more female entrepreneurs with families, because then they show what can be done. And it's those people that are leading the path for people like me to think, yeah, I can do that too. You know, it's inspiring to see somebody that's done that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that also resonates with me, because although we're in different industries, there's some parallels in what you said, because obviously I try to run an online magazine, and there's some big websites like Psychology Today or Psych Central, and that really resonates what you said. Like, if they're able to show me the path that it's possible to do it, that also inspires me to, you know, yeah, maybe I could do that, but with a bit of, you know, personal touch.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how do you relax? What's your distressing outlet?
Oh, other than maybe a bit of yoga, but that's again exercise. Totally aside from that, I love watching films when I can get the time. I love to have a little bit of a film watch, and then cooking. I like a bit of cooking. Nothing really that interesting, to be honest, when I have time.
It is interesting. I'm really drawn to Netflix. My Sunday is always Netflix and pizza.
Oh, I miss one of the main things I miss is going to the cinema, because I just love going to this. Like, I would go to the cinema by myself. I just love it.
Okay.
So yeah, I miss that.
And Jemma, I'm just interested to find out, what do you think you would be doing if you didn't work as a personal trainer?
Oh, good question. I think something to do with others, helping others, being lifting others up. And I don't know, you know, because I think I left marketing and advertising. It was great. It was fun, but it was quite an intense industry for me, quite long. Didn't really fit in with kind of being a mother at the time. So now I don't know what I would do, you know? I don't know. That's a very good question. Maybe I would be an artist. I would like to. I'm not very good at art though.
Well, I can imagine you being a good artist with that fun.
Okay, teacher. Art teacher.
An art teacher. And finally, Jemma, what else is in the pipeline? And again, remind us, if people wanted to reach you, what platforms can we get in touch with you? I know you've got an Instagram, but do you have other social media presence?
I just sort of Instagram and Facebook at the moment, and my website, and that is generally how I kind of communicate at the moment. So yeah, there might be some more in the future, but at the moment, that's it.
Did you have any special events or anything going on?
So do you know what? In the future, if things do go well in terms of meeting up in outside of lockdown, because we are, as we speak, in the UK in lockdown, but I'd love to have some events coming at the end of the year where I can meet up and do physical group exercise with people. But at the moment, there's nothing in the diary. Not yet.
Yeah, do let us know. We'll love to have you back here again at the DRH show if you've got any exciting event. But for now, Jemma, I'm sorry we ran out of time, but it's a pleasure having you here on the DRH show. And I look forward to hearing more about your work at Jemmas Hub. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Take care.